Good morning, everybody. Jim Fleiss and Hank Goldberg out here in Las Vegas. Hank, how are you today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. I'll bet you're excited about the Kentucky Derby this weekend.
I had a busy day yesterday. I did 2 television shows. The ESPN show, we just talked about the draw, who did well, who didn't. And then we went into more detail on the CBS show. But the draw is very interesting in that, for example, War of Will drew post 1. Well, post 1 is the dreaded post in the draw. Mark Cassie put his head in his hands when he drew number 1. And then he came out afterwards and said, well, we're going to have to send this horse, let him go for the lead. Well, Vakima and the master horse that won the Florida Derby drew next to each other in post 6 and 7. They're going to go for the lead, those 2 horses, and they'll probably run each other out early. But and Vakima's the other horse, post 6. Post 7 is the Florida Derby winner. But that horse, number 1, has no chance out of that post. And if he's going to gut him early, he's going to have a tough time making a lead. He's an immediate throw out. Baffert, and his 5 horse, who's the horse that I like, who I've been talking about, he drew well. Everything's been going well for that horse. He had a terrific workout the other day. He looked real good. And getting post 5 for him is going to be a perfect spot because he's going to get a ground-saving trip. He's going to be a stalker. He's going to be in a real good position. The other 2 Baffert horses, Game Winner and Game Winner drew post 16 and Roadster drew post 17. No horse has ever won out of the 17 post. And Game Winner out of post 16, he always had wide trips his last couple of races, which have cost him. And out of post 16, he's going to have to run farther than anybody else. There's a good chance he's going to be wide the whole way because he's got a lot of speed and tactical speed inside of him. And he tends to drift out in the stretch anyway. I think that really, and he could be the best horse in the race and be compromised by where he drew. So the favorite, Omaha Beach, drew post 12, drew very well, but he could have difficulty. If this was a normal 12-hole horse field, you would look at if 12 would be the outside horse. That's where the inside gate stops. And you would say, well, he may have a little difficulty from the outside. But this is not the outside in the 20-horse field. And this horse probably needs to be close to the lead, or maybe would want to get the lead early. And he's got that speed, the 6 and 7 horses inside of him. And he's got the 5 horse who's going to be stalking along with the 3 horse, who a lot of people are talking up, by my standards. 3 horse, who people say are looking very good. And so he could have a little difficulty out of the 12 spot, but you got to use him because, he's the favorite and he's won. I'll give you an interesting stat. The last 7 Derby winners have won 2 races in a row coming into the race. There are 4 horses who have won 2 races in a row coming into this race. Omaha Beach is one of them. Tacitus is another, the horse I like, Bill Mott's horse. And Tacitus drew post 8, which is a good spot. And there are 2 other horses in here who have won 2 races in a row coming in here. So that's a factor you got to look at.
Wow, that's quite an analysis, Hank, and I know you have a lot more to say. Your plays, your selections in the race are already up at jimfeiss.com, so people know.
Yeah, I can tell you for the Oaks on Friday that Bellafina is a standout horse who has won 7 out of 8 races, but was beaten on his track last year by a horse called Jay something or other. Anyway, it was not the same horse this year. But anyway, but the thing about Delfina is she's been running against 4 and 5 horse fields in California to be winning very convincingly, and she'll be tough to beat here. But Kenny McPeak has a horse in here who's, I think, number 14. And McPeak is always a danger in a race like this. And then there's a horse called Serengeti Empress, who's got a ton of speed, who will probably have the lead in the race. So those are the 3 horses to watch in the Oaks on Friday.
Okay, well this is going to be a big week. Exciting.
Yep.
Okay, switching sports. What did you think of that blowout by Milwaukee last night?
It was a system game because, teams that win on the road in game 1 usually don't win game 2 on the road. And I think Boston just left everything on the court with game 1. So, they were tied at the half, and the Celtics I think, ran out of gas, and they couldn't hit anything. They just couldn't shoot well, and none of their guys were shooting well in the second half, and they just got beat by a very good team. I think the Celtics will be fine when they get home.
Yeah, the pattern in the NBA playoffs, it's kind of a mixed bag. Years ago, the zigzag theory worked really well. It's been kind of marginal lately, 50-50 mostly for the last couple of years. But, there's a game tonight, which I want to bring up, the Portland-Denver game. And I think we differed on this the other night. I like Portland a lot conceptually. The problem I have with them is the big man. Cantor's played very well since he came over to replace their injured star at the center position. But when he went up against Oklahoma City, he didn't go up against a talented big man inside. Now he has to. And he's playing with that bad shoulder. He played really well the other night, but you could see he was in a lot of pain. And there were a couple spots where he really grimaced from pain. He's got a bad shoulder. He probably should have surgery, actually, but he's still playing. He's a warrior. But this is a tough spot. Short turnaround here. They're still in Denver. It's Mile High City. It's tough to get used to that altitude, and it's it's a quick turnaround 2 nights later. The one normal thing in the line, when you look at the line, usually the game opened Denver 3.5 in this game. That's the line in the first game was 3.5 or 4. So, and now it's gone up. So the pattern of playing the team that lost the first game is being reversed in the line movement. It's actually gone up. When under normal circumstances it would go down. That's kind of telling to me. I think the injured Portland situation on the with Cantor, it's a mismatch inside for Portland. Even though I like Portland a lot, I love their guards. McCollum and Lillard played fantastic. Cantor had been playing, but he's really hurt.
He's really hurt, but they couldn't handle him. He has tremendous moves inside, and he kept getting easy baskets. They had no answer for him. He was the only guy who played particularly well.
Well, the matchup.
Lillard had a terrible game.
I agree. The matchup, though, he scored 20-22, but the guy he's playing against, the other big man on the other side, scored 37. I mean, that's a big mismatch at one position.
Yeah.
I really like Portland, but that injury really keeps. I haven't played it. I haven't made a play in the game either night, and I probably won't play it again tonight because in some games you just got to stay off of. I probably would look at the over First game went over. The line opened 217. It's up to 219.5 or 220. I think the line moves in this game are actually telling. And I'd probably play the game over if I did anything with it. But right now I haven't done anything.
Both of last night's games went over.
They did. They did. Barely, but they did. No question. I did not have...
I'll tell you, the first game was over at halftime. And so they didn't have to do a lot to make the over in the second half. But I'll tell you something. The Lillard is due to have a big game. He did not make any outside shots. He was way off in his game, in game one. Did nothing.
You know, the one thing about the three-point shot, Hank, you and I go back to the day when there was no three-point shot at all. The three-point shot is a very telling statistic. The problem is it's the most fickle statistic in all of basketball and in all of sports, because it's a low percentage shot. If you're having a good night and you hit 40, 45, 50% of your threes, you can just kill people. But if you're down in the 20s or 30s, it can kill you because you're not getting the shots, you're not getting the rebounds. Everything else goes against you. The fast break opens up on the other side. So the game is really down to that one game, and you're not going to have 45% from 3-point every night. You're going to have off nights. It's a long shot, and it's a very. That's what potentially can kill Houston, because they love to shoot up the threes, and that really is difficult. They barely.
Well, when Lillard is on his game, he could score 50 points.
Well, they could. So could McCollum. They're both excellent three-point shooters, but somebody's got to get hot. That's the one thing that the Warriors have. They don't have one guy that can do that. They have three guys that can do that. And if you have one or two guys off, you still have the other guy can pick it up. Not too many teams have multiple players that are 35-40%, the 35-40 point producers from three-point land, like the Warriors have. Portland has that, McCollum and Lillard, especially Lillard. That's the name everybody knows for the most part. So it's a tough matchup. Denver's tough at home. They had a great record at home. They haven't been in the playoffs for many years. I like Portland in this spot, but I'm concerned about that injury. I'm concerned about Cantor being able to continue to play in the pain that he has, and the matchup is very difficult for him. But that's the problem that keeps me off of it.
Well, Lillard got all of his points driving to the basket. I will say one thing about if you combine that with the game that the center had with his injury, Denver doesn't have a lot of defense around the rim. But on the other hand, they had a very good inside game offensively, and a lot of those points that they got inside were not the fault of Cantor. They came off missed shots from 3 points out that Lillard had, and they were just all follow-ups.
Right. Yeah, it's we move on to. You want to talk? Are you surprised that Toronto is actually the favorite at Philadelphia?
Yeah, a little bit. At Philadelphia?
Yeah. They opened a 1.5 point dog, but they're now a 1.5 point favorite at Philadelphia.
Boy.
Yeah, that was my reaction too. That's, I mean, the best player on the floor we know is Kawhi Leonard. We know that. I'm not a big fan of their other guard, but I don't know. That's a surprising line to me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Philadelphia, they played a great game the other night against them. And you know, Toronto. You know what's interesting to me is some teams just when they go cold, they really go cold. Like the Celtics, for example. When they go cold, everybody goes cold, and it doesn't happen to them at home, but it does happen to them occasionally on the road. And so, you know, last night was a spot for that. And that's where they got blown out. They'll be a different team at home.
Speaking of
but, you know,
that's a Friday night. That's a Friday night game where Boston is a 1.5 or 2 point favorite. And personally, I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's a good line. I'm sure that Milwaukee, with the best record in the NBA, gets a lot of credit for that, and they have the Greek Freak, and he's fantastic. But I don't know.
Well, they've kept the Greek Freak pretty much. You know, the first game they did a great job on him. Second game, not as great a job, but he didn't go berserk on him. And again, you know, Boston was so out of their game offensively, and they just quit in the second half. They didn't play in the second half. They did nothing.
Yeah, I agree with that. We had a couple rainouts in baseball yesterday. The Baltimore game was rained out. The Tampa games were rained out. We got 2 double headers going today. Tampa looks like, from the get-go, they have the best pitching staff in baseball at the moment. And they seem to have some pretty good backup people in the minor leagues that they can bring up. Somehow this team has developed a hell of a pitching staff. They are very difficult, and leading the American League. And if Snell comes back healthy, that's it. And they have this kid in the minors. I was talking about it the other day. I think his name is Mize. And I'm going to try to quote these numbers from memory, actually, and sometimes my memory isn't all that good. But I think his name is Mize, and I think he's pitched 18 innings in the minors. He's throwing 100 miles an hour. He's had 34 strikeouts and 4 walks. And they're itching to bring him up, but they have such a good starting rotation already. They almost can't at the moment. So that's a very difficult team going forward. And I don't know if anybody out there bets futures bets. It might be worthwhile to bet a little futures bet on Tampa. They could go a long way. Their power rating.
They could go a long way. I think the Yankees are a real danger to them because the Yankees have pitching too, including the old man who got his became the third guy to get 3,000 what was it, Ks or whatever yesterday, and he pitched a good game and got beat by Greinke. But the Yankees, you know, still have all those guys on the injured list, and when they start getting those guys back, they're going to be tough.
They are tough. There's no question. Right now, in the power ratings that I look at different power ratings for baseball teams, not everybody uses that in baseball. But just an interesting fact here. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm just going to quote it. Tampa has a 144 rating. The next rating is Houston 142.8, Dodgers 139.6, Milwaukee 126, Yankees 121. Granted, that they are injured, so that affects that. But they are the highest rated team in baseball right now, American or National League. It's just interesting.
Well, they got off to a great start.
Yeah, they did.
And then they cooled off a little bit. They got swept last week, and they came back yesterday, or the day before rather. But we'll see. It's still early, and I think Milwaukee is. Milwaukee's got great hitting, and can't discount that. They're going to be tough.
It's going to be great. It's exciting. It's exciting. Anything else you want to cover today, Hank? Well, I just noticed we're running long. I just noticed the time.
Well, I've been really tied up with the horse racing. I have the Oak Show on Thursday on ESPN, and then I have to come back there Friday to do the Derby show because that's their last show of the week. And Saturday morning I've got the Derby show on CBS, and then I have to come on afterwards to talk about the race and what lies ahead with the 3-year-old picture. Talk about the possibility for horses waiting at the Preakness for them. For whoever comes out of the Derby. And the Derby is the most exciting race in years. I talked to the Baffert people yesterday. I think you have to use Game Winner, but I don't like his post. I think you got to use him. I know that Baffert likes his 5-horse better than the other two because, he drew better and he's doing great right now. And they're going to take the blinkers off the horse. They put blinkers on him for the Arkansas Derby, and he freaked out in the gate. It was a big mistake. The fact that he freaked out in the gate cost him the Arkansas Derby. Had he not freaked out in the gate and got worn out, he probably would have beaten Omaha Beach, who's the 3-1 favorite. He's 6-1. That's a big factor. And you've got the favorite here, trained by Richard Mandela, who's never won a Kentucky Derby. And it's interesting to me that Bill Mott's horse, number 8, who is anywhere from 8-1 to 10-1, Bill Mott has never won a Kentucky Derby. And Mandela is, he's a Hall of Fame trainer, but he's strictly a West Coast guy, whereas Bill Mott, is a big New York trainer, big Florida trainer, big Midwest trainer. He's far more geographically distributed than Mandela, who is, of course, a top trainer in California. Neither one of them has ever won a Kentucky Derby. In Mott's case, he has not trained a lot of 3-year-olds in his career. Most of his horses have been older horses, like Cigar, who really blossomed as an older horse after the 3-year-old season was over with, and who started out as a grass horse and went over to dirt. And Mott is a great grass trainer, too. So it would be a great story to see those two guys run 1-2 who have never won a Kentucky Derby and such great guys in the game.
Awesome stuff, Hank. My goodness. That is deep analysis that people, I'm sure everybody appreciates hearing that.
Well, Tacitus is one of the horses who has won 2 races in a row, and so is Mandela's horse, Omaha Beach. And Tacitus, when Bill Mott told me about him before the Tampa race that he won, he said this horse will get better with distance. He's bred. He has incredible breeding as far as being able to negotiate the 1.25 miles is concerned. What I like about him is in the wood, he got really slammed coming out of the gate. Basically went to his knees, and he passed 11 horses and won and galloped out when he crossed the finish line. So he has experience running against a lot of horses and being able to, not being intimidated by that. I think it's a big factor. And none of these other horses have experienced that. On the other hand, of the Kentucky Derby winners in recent years, none of them have been worse than fourth early in the race. Tough to come from far behind in a 20-horse field.
Yeah, it really is. Hank, I appreciate everything. Great analysis, great spot. Appreciate your time. I gotta cut this off. We're at the 26-minute mark. These things don't record that long.
Wow. Okay.
We're having fun. You can tell when we're having fun. We'll talk on Friday. Have a good day. Feel good. And everybody out there, everything's on jimfeist.com. Go there right now. Pick up the spots. Thanks. And we're going to have a big winning week. Thanks, Hank.